Instagram is not dead. You're just posting like it's 2020. If your reels are flopping and your stories feel like they're just completely invisible, the only followers or DMs that you're getting seem to be from bots, this one is for you. We're going to break down exactly what Instagram actually wants to see in 2025 and beyond. The reality is, when you start to give the algorithm what it actually wants, you will absolutely be highly rewarded. The one thing I will say is that you need to be doing so for a period of time. I usually think that 90 days is a great time frame to be training the algorithm on who you want to get in front of and actually really starting to put some quality content out there consistently. If you do that for 90 days, I believe just about everyone can see a massive shift in the way their account is performing. If you've been doing that for 90 days with a very clear strategy, consistent posting schedule, showing up as often as you can, being social on the platform, and you're still not seeing any results, it might be worth either A, adjusting your strategy, or B, you might have reason to create a new account. Now, I get that question a lot. Should I start a new account? Should I just keep going with the one that I have? And I typically tell people there are very few instances where it makes sense to remove your account, delete your account, and start a new one. But that would be one of them. If you've been super consistent with a very clear strategy for at least 90 days and you're still not seeing any progress, that might be an indicator that it could be time to try and start fresh. But if that is not the case, then this video is going to give you a great overview of exactly what Instagram actually wants to see from you in 2025 and beyond, especially if you are a real estate agent or a mortgage lender or somehow in those industries. This one is designed to really help you get a clear strategy. Now, before I dive into the exact breakdown of how you're going to do it, I did also create a Google Doc that runs through what I believe to be the ultimate IG strategy for 2025. So just check out the description box below for that full Google Doc, or of course you can come find me on Instagram and message me and I will shoot you a link to it right there. Now let's dive into what Instagram actually wants to see so that you can start seeing a better result from your efforts on social media. So what has actually changed on Instagram? Well, actually a lot, and here's why you should care. Once upon a time, you absolutely could just post some pretty listing photos or a graphic and get a decent result on social media, especially if you were doing some follow unfollow or you were using your hashtags like crazy. But the reality is, in today's day and age, the platform and its algorithm are extremely smart, which when you learn how to use that to your benefit can be a huge advantage. But when it's not being used to your advantage, it sort of starts to feel like that's working against you. So here are a couple rules to the game so that you can start using it to work for you instead of against you. The three key metrics that you need to pay attention to are watch time, likes per reach, and of course, your shares per reach. Now, we have all heard that shares is one of the most important metrics on Instagram nowadays, and that's absolutely true, but it's not the only thing that matters. If you pay attention to those three metrics, it's going to help you to not only create better content, but content that the algorithm will actually reward you for. Now, a couple of ways that you can use this specifically in the real estate space is by creating what I like to call people-first content. People-first content is essentially we're creating content that we want people to come onto the platform and consume as if they would with their normal consumption habits on social media. So let me paint the picture for you. Most people, maybe yourself included, when you do hop onto social media, you're hoping to be entertained. You might be looking for a restaurant. You might be watching a funny or emotional video. Those tend to be a lot of the habits of people who are spending time on social media. And so when we pop out and our first post is just 3 tips if you want to buy or sell a house in 2025, it's a major pattern interrupt, but not always in a good way, because that's not necessarily the intention of what somebody coming to Instagram or TikTok or YouTube is looking for. Now, that doesn't mean that there isn't a time and place for that type of content. There absolutely is. But if you want to start getting in front of new eyeballs and starting to draw more attention to your content overall, it's really important to focus on the people-first content. So let me give you a few examples of what that can look like and how you can incorporate it into your content strategy. Style number 1 would be aspirational local content. This will be things that allow you to show off your lifestyle or the lifestyle in your area, not just listings. This might be something like a morning in downtown Austin or why everyone is moving to Scottsdale in 2025. That kind of content allows you to highlight the area that you're in. You can, of course, find subtle ways to tie it back to real estate or even a specific listing, but it's also making it a lot more general. It is still valuable, but it's also something that's going to flow more consistently with what people are consuming on social media. I also love this content because it's a great way to incorporate elements of who you are and really getting to know your audience and allowing them to get to know you better. The second one would be neighborhood guides. Now, these are really fun as well and can definitely become a series, which, pro tip, a series on social media is an incredible way to not only stay consistent with your content, but also to start to build a loyal audience. Now, for neighborhood guides, you could keep it more general and just do a general overview. I'm based in Scottsdale, so that's why I use that example a lot. So I could do the top 5 neighborhoods in Scottsdale for families. And I could go through and highlight these different neighborhoods, or you can get even more specific and niche with it. Now, again, I think this is a fun place that you can pull in elements of who you are and your own personality and lifestyle into it. Let's just say that you're somebody who loves to eat pizza or absolutely adores going to Pilates all the time. That might be a great thing to go on sort of a tour of all the different Pilates studios or pizza parlors in your specific area and make it a series of different pieces of content. It could be reels, or you could compile it all into a couple of carousel posts, but this makes it really fun and engaging, and of course is super shareable. I don't know about you guys, but this is some of the most commonly shared content from myself to my boyfriend, is different restaurants or things that we can go and check out and do in our local area. The third would be mini tours with a really great hook. So starting with something like, you won't believe what is behind this front door. And then, of course, you're going to reveal it and make it a little bit fun and engaging. Now, one thing I want to point out with all of these types of content is you may consume other people's stuff on social media, and you might see people who have like very over-the-top personalities. There's some people who are dancing or doing all kinds of different things. I think one thing that is super important to remember is that you don't have to make that your style as well. If it is, and that's already a piece of your personality and how you like to engage and interact, then that's great. But it's important to not force yourself to act like somebody else. One of the most powerful things about social media is the fact that it allows it to work for you even when you're not face to face with somebody. So you want to make sure that it's a positive and accurate representation of who you really are. If you're pretending to be this super over the top, high energy person on social media, and then people meet you in person and you're really shy and reserved, and that's not who you are at all, it creates this disconnect, which oftentimes can lead to a lack of trust. So it is way more important that you're showing up as authentically as possible so that people start to feel like they already know you and they're already establishing some of that trust with you just from the content that they see through social media. Another great type of content is local itineraries. So again, this can be another great series style. It could be 3 things to do this weekend in Scottsdale. It could be your ultimate springtime guide to Scottsdale. It could be your Mother's Day weekend in Arizona. Whatever it is, there's a bunch of different ways that you can create a fun little local itinerary where you're just highlighting some of the things that people can do in your area. Again, it can be tied into your own lifestyle or the lifestyle around a listing of yours or a specific farm that you're trying to work, but I find it also extremely effective because there's pretty much endless opportunity to highlight these different things, and it makes it really fun to show people why they should love living in the area. And my last example for this is going to be behind the scenes type stuff. I don't know about you, but people love to watch behind the scenes content. It's one of the reasons that so many reality TV shows have been around for ages and absolutely aren't going anywhere. It's because by nature, we as humans are curious. We love to see behind the scenes what's really going on in somebody's life. And so the more that we can highlight these different things, the better, because people love to watch that content. I also think it's incredible to incorporate this in what you truly do behind the scenes as a real estate agent, because I think there's a lot of misconceptions as far as what goes into actually working in real estate. And so you can use this as a way to show how much time and effort and care you put towards your clients and making sure that you're always delivering at a really high level. And of course, you can also incorporate some fun stuff and just get to show people a little bit more about yourself. Now, let's talk about stories. Most agents are overlooking stories, but Instagram stories are extremely powerful, especially for lead generation, and they can actually get pushed out a lot more than you think. Here are a few ways to make them work. First and foremost is using polls. Polls are gold when it comes to boosting some engagement on your story. And also, I like to use this as a great indicator of who has expressed intent for some more information. So what you would do is you would create an Instagram story with some sort of interactive poll. It doesn't always have to be directly related to real estate. It could be about local things to do. It could be about design. It could be about sports, whatever it may be. Each and every single person who's engaging on that poll on your story, even if it's just 10 people, let's say, it's going to give you sort of an open door to continue a conversation with them, which is what I highly encourage you to do. So whenever you're posting something that you include a poll on and people are voting, you want to make sure that you take the time to shoot them a quick message and be like, oh my gosh, so funny, I agree, or oh, that's great, why do you think so? Use that as an open door opportunity to start having a conversation and building more of a relationship with someone. Now, that may not always turn directly into a real estate related conversation, but at the very least, you're exchanging some dialogue. And yet another little tip about the algorithm is that when we're having this back and forth dialogue with somebody, that's going to help to prioritize your content in that person's feed and their algorithm. So if you're going back and forth messaging with somebody, you're more likely to pop up and show for them both in feed and on Instagram stories. So when we do have those exchanges and those conversations online, it can help to give us an additional boost of visibility for the people that we want to see our content. Next would be DM triggers. So asking a question like, do you want to see this home before it hits the market? DM me market for a private walkthrough. Now that would obviously be a really direct call to action, but you can do it with all kinds of things. You could do a quick video scrolling on your computer, looking at the MLS and say 1,000 new properties just hit the local market over the weekend. DM me preview if you want to see a list of some of them to see if they might hit what you're looking for. And now you're kind of piquing curiosity, you're getting people to respond, and naturally that's going to help to push your story out in front of more people. You can also use your stories as a great way to tease upcoming content that you'll post within your feed, whether it's a reel or a carousel. Let's just say I finished up previewing a property for a client, hosting an open house, doing a showing. I could hop on and record a quick story of myself just saying, I just left the craziest showing, the craziest property I've ever seen. I've never seen anything like it. Just wait. I'm going to post a video later today that gives you a full walkthrough, and hopefully you guys will see why my jaw was on the floor. Now, something like that would definitely make me want to come back and look at whatever the heck that was that somebody's posting, because I want to know why their jaw was on the floor. So you can use it as a great way to tease upcoming content. Because stories typically only last for 24 hours, it's a great tool to help drive additional visibility to the other content that you've created. Now here is a quick bonus tip that very few people are talking about, and that is the fact that your reels can also be indexed on Google. So for years and years, SEO has been so crucial, so important. We want to make sure we are visible in search results. Now that is still important, but Instagram is now indexing on Google. So if you are creating content with great value, it has all of the information necessary, and you're using those keywords, you can actually start showing up on Google search results. That means if you are creating a reel and you title it something like, moving to Tampa, here are 3 things that you don't want to miss. Or moving to Tampa, here are 3 things that you must know before you make the move. And you're including those keywords in your caption, you're not only going to reach people on Instagram, but you also have the likelihood to index on Google and be shown when somebody's searching those terms on Google. This can be extremely powerful for your visibility and, of course, for getting you in front of the right people. This is one of the reasons that for so many years, YouTube has been an extremely powerful tool for real estate agents to generate new leads. And now we have some of that same accessibility through Instagram. Now, before we wrap things up, I do want to point out a few of the absolute killers, because as much as it's important to know what does work and do more of that, you also want to make sure that you're staying away from any of these critical mistakes that could be limiting your visibility from Instagram in 2025 and beyond. So here are 3 silent killers that you want to make sure that you avoid at all costs. Number 1, we are no longer posting just a singular static image. Now, I know you might argue that there's a time and a place for it, but I would dare to say that there is almost no possible circumstance where it makes sense to post one singular image. One of the easiest ways I can explain this is that Instagram is really interested in keeping users on the platform for as long as possible, okay? And so if you create a post and it's got a short little caption and just one singular photo, that's not typically going to keep people engaged on that and plugged into that as long as possible. And so more often than not, Instagram's not really going to push that out to additional eyeballs. And so if you want to post some static images, some photos, then I would highly encourage you to turn that into a carousel post. Now, carousels, they've increased. You can now have more than 10 photos, which I typically don't recommend, but at least having 1 or 2 or 3 things that people can swipe through. And in some cases, I'll even take the same image, and in my second slide, I've just put some text on it. So maybe even the text that I would have put just directly in the caption, I'm also throwing on top of the photo on that second swipe so that people have a little bit more of an interactive experience while they're consuming that content. More often than not, this is going to get you a lot more visibility than if you were to just post that singular static image. And please, for the love of all things holy, let's stop with the just listed, the just sold, the open house graphics on your feed. That is the worst thing I can see. And if you guys want a video on alternatives of how to still share that valuable content, but in a totally different format that will actually get engagement and a much better result, let me know down in the comments. I'd be happy to do a full video breaking that down for you, but those have got to stop. The second silent killer that you want to make sure you stay away from is going to be selling in every single post. At the end of the day, your Instagram is not intended to just be this sales platform. In fact, a lot of times that's going to drive down your engagement. So instead, you want to use it sort of as a community nurturing tool. Focus on value. You can make asks from time to time, but it is so much more important to build a community of people who want to connect with you. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't use it as a massive lead generating tool, because you absolutely can. And I have tons of tips in the description of this video to help you do just that. But it's important that you're not just posting as if it's like this billboard advertisement every single time someone sees what you're sharing. And number 3 is stop copy and pasting trends just because you see them trending, unless you can make them relevant to what it is that you're talking about. I see this happen a lot. There's this common misconception that just quote unquote following a trend is going to make you go viral. And as much as it can from time to time, if you can't relate it relevantly back to what you're actually talking about and the people you're trying to attract, it's not going to do you any good. In fact, I've had a client who we worked so hard to help her build up a really engaged local audience who was actually interested in what she had to offer. And then she went out and did this trend that had nothing to do with real estate. In fact, it was a little bit provocative in the other direction. She shared it. It went totally viral. Now, at first, it's exciting. She had over 1 million views. She was getting all these new followers, all of these comments. But the reality is, all of those followers and all of that engagement was people that are not at all her target audience. In fact, they were really detrimental to her brand. And it's been extremely hard to retrain the algorithm that that viral video was not the audience we wanted to get in front of. And so it's super important to make sure that if you're going to follow these trends, you find a way to tie it back into what you do, because not every viral piece of content is going to be beneficial to your brand. And one thing that I always talk about is it's much more important to be growing slowly and steadily with the type of people that you actually want to be connected to, instead of just getting all of these random followers that are like creepy random people in a country that's nowhere near you. That's not going to be very helpful to your real estate business. So you want to stay away from that so that you don't completely destroy the hard work that you've put in so far to building your brand. And last but not least, the real reason you are not growing. If you're not growing currently, it's not because Instagram is broken. It's not because the algorithm has singled you out or is choosing to suppress your content. It's because probably a combination of the following 2 things. Number 1, your content is probably just not landing with the people that are currently seeing it. That might not mean it's bad content in general, but you haven't done enough of it to get it positioned in front of the right people. Instagram in 2025 really rewards connection, not perfection. So you want to make sure that you are following a specific strategy. And the second piece is that you're doing it consistently for a long enough period of time that you can retrain the algorithm. I said it at the beginning of the video and I will say it again. This doesn't happen overnight. I believe that if you follow a consistent strategy for 90 days, you can absolutely change the game with how you're prioritized on Instagram, the reach that you're getting, and the kind of people that you're attracting into your audience. But if you just do it for a week and then you're frustrated that you're not seeing the result yet, then you haven't given it long enough. And again, it might not be that your content is bad, it's just that you haven't given enough time for the algorithm to really learn who you are, what you're interested in, and who you want to get in front of. So if you're ready to grow your brand, your reach, and your revenue on Instagram, you have to give the algorithm what it wants, which is consistency, value, and you being you, but with a smarter twist. And by that, I just mean a strategy. So if you want more of the tactical, no fluff stuff to help you really grow your brand on social media, then I'm the ultimate real estate content coach. So you might want to hit that subscribe button so you can tune into more of the free content that will help you do just that. And again, be sure to check out the description because I have tons of resources available to help you increase your content and show up better on social media.